What's up? My name is Simon Hill. Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm here in King Abdulaziz Airport in Saudi Arabia. And this is a trip for me because I never thought I would ever be like this close to like Mecca and in Saudi Arabia under these conditions. You know what I mean? So I'm here with my wife. We just got married and we're going on our honeymoon, inshallah, to Mauritius. And it's going to be a great trip. We almost didn't make it, but that's a separate story. But I'm gonna do I'm gonna talk about a topic, an idea that I've been thinking about for a few days, uh, and it's something that I think about and question, right? And for anybody who's wondering, am I really in Saudi Arabia? You know you're in Saudi Arabia when the TV is just showing people doing tawaf around the Kaaba. All right. Anyway, my question that I have today is, would I have still chosen to become a Muslim or join Islam if I was born a woman, right? And there are so many questions that I have regarding that because did I make my conversion honestly, or did I make it with a sense of privilege, knowing that as a man in Islam, I am not as restricted as women are? Now, for anybody who's an Islamic scholar or somebody who knows a little bit about Deen, they would argue that men are just as restricted in Islam as women, right? Women are supposed to cover their bodies, cover their aura, their parts that will attract attention, but men are supposed to lower their gaze, and men are also supposed to dress decently and that sort of thing. But what's written in the books and what's taught by the scholars is not actually what is actually practiced in society. And we can see, like around us, how it's actually practiced or implemented in society has a lot more to do with patriarchal power than it actually does with trying to create an equal and just world for men and women in the Islamic tradition as it's practiced. I'm not saying that the deen is sexist. I'm not saying that the tradition is sexist. What I'm saying is how it's acted out in the world is blatantly sexist, right? And if you talk to most Muslim women, right, they're going to say that a lot of the ways they're treated and the ways they're viewed is unfair, right? It's really not fair. Um, and if you don't believe me, I have a woman who grew up in a Muslim country. And tell me, how do you feel growing up as a Muslim girl in a Muslim country? Can you just briefly, is there any, I know that's kind of deep, that's kind of a deep question. Could you,
I mean, on the top of my head, most women are already like oppressed in general without like whether it's a Muslim country or a Christian country or whatever. But in addition to that, when you're in a Muslim country, you have this extra pressure to be pure, to be a virgin, to be not like, date or do that type of stuff. And even though Muslim, like in Turkey, you don't need to wear a niqab or like what was that? Is that called niqab?
niqab, hijab, you don't
Yeah,
have
you
to
don't have
have
to
cup,
wear it.
uh-huh.
But when you wear like, short stuff or just like because it's hot during the summer everywhere in Turkey. So when you wear like short skirts or just dresses that show cleavage or whatever, people look at you in a certain way. We lived in Abe Sultan for
Ayub Sultan, by the
nine
way,
months, and it's
is
a
a
very conservative
yeah,
neighborhood.
it's a conservative neighborhood in Istanbul, Turkey. Go ahead.
And yeah, so every time I would go out wearing a dress, I would get looks and that type of stuff. And that's why I kind of dislike Islam. I
Mm,
think it's very sexist the way it is put out
mm,
because it's also used a lot to manipulate for politics too.
right. Thank you.
And
Thank you for sharing. And Turkey has an interesting history because they've gone back and forth between secularist, religious. So there's a conflict there. But it's not but still within that society, there's still the question of how women are treated and the unfairness of it all. Whether it's a secularist country at a moment or a religious one, there's still the mistreatment of women, right? Now, let me just give some brief background. I've lived for an extended period of time in three Muslim countries: Tunisia, Indonesia, Turkey, right? And in all of these contexts and situations, I've heard from women, seen from women, their experiences, right? Now, my background, I'm a black American male. Uh, the black American male relationship with Islam is based a lot on cultural heritage, trying to recreate some cultural ties to who we were before our enslavement, and also uh, trying to give us a clearer understanding of our position in the world in like a greater context outside of America. But putting all that aside, I am still a man, right? Whether I'm a black man, which is an oppressed group in America and in the world, I'm still a man, and there are still certain privileges with being a man. Here in Saudi Arabia, you walk in these places, and there are male only rooms, right? And there are separate places for men and women and stuff like that. And also, what's expected of me as a man, I can walk around in Saudi Arabia generally like this, but if we left this airport, she would have to cover up and stuff like that. And she would not be, if we lived in Saudi Arabia, she would have very, very few limited opportunities to grow in her career or do what she wanted to do. So, with that said, if let's say I was born a woman, a white woman, black woman, any type of woman in America, would I have still made that choice to give up freedoms for a religious reason or cause, right? I would like to say, I would like to believe that yes, I would, because I would have a sincere belief in the religion or in the deen, and that, and I would know or understand that people are implementing it wrong, that it shouldn't be about this this division between the sexes. It's about treating people with respect and dignity. That's what Islam, as I understood it, was about. And I've read the Quran, I've read Sahih Bukhari, and I understand the Sirah. So how do we get to this point where it's just all about telling people what to do, what to wear, what not to think, and that sort of thing? When did it become that? Go ahead. I'm
If
sorry.
you were a woman in the States and then you decide to become a Muslim, would you cover up?
That's another question. Would I? Would I?
Because if you want to do it 100%, then you wouldn't, let's say one of the things that you want to do the most is to travel. And you wouldn't be able to travel without a husband,
Right.
or you wouldn't be able to drink.
Exactly. Now, let me just be clear. I'm not a practicing Muslim now, but I still identify as Muslim. La ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. I still identify as Muslim, and nobody can take that away from me. Those are my words. Those are my beliefs. But yes, if I was a woman and I decided to be sincere and practice my deen completely, I would have limited opportunities. I love to travel. I couldn't travel without a male guardian, and I couldn't do a lot of other things, right? Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I think the reason that I think about this is because I always want to try to look at any decision I make from the position of where am I privileged? How come I'm able to make this decision with my life, uh, and not realize that I'm making it from the position of somebody who has an opportunity that many other people don't, or at least in this case, 50% of the world doesn't have, right? Because the half of the world is men and women, right? And it's something I think about. I don't know. It's something I always think about. Is that weird to think if I was a woman?
I mean, I feel like you would still become Muslim because you are a more like, I mean, you are a less conservative Muslim right now as a male. And I feel like you would still be a less conservative Muslim as a female.
Mm,
Like, you would be like my mom, because
mm,
she is not, she doesn't cover up, but she does fast during Ramadan, and she does, like, celebrate all the religious holidays and stuff like that.
mm,
She does pray
mm,
on some nights, but she
mm-hmm.
does not, like,
Right,
pray 5 times a day,
right,
and she still drinks. So I
right,
think you might be, like, that type of Muslim lady
right.
if you were a female.
Right. And for anybody who's watching this video and they don't know any Muslims, or they've never left their country that's not Muslim, and You know, you don't know what it's like. Not everybody in every Muslim country is just Allahu Akbar all the time, praying 5 times a day, not drinking, not smoking. Anything that happens in Germany, America, Canada also happens in Turkey, Tunisia, Morocco. People are drinking, people are having sex, people are doing all sorts of things, you know, that they shouldn't be doing because of their religion, but they do it anyway because they're just people, right? And so maybe possibly I would be what's called a liberal Muslim, but I I would say I would still love Islamic knowledge because I love Islamic knowledge. I love the history. I also sincerely believe in Allah and the Prophet and the last day. I sincerely believe in that in my heart, even though I don't practice. But would I even be where I am today with those opinions and those beliefs if somebody told me as soon as you know, do this, you know, you have to change a lot about yourself. As a Muslim man, what do you have to give up? You have to give up drinking alcohol, having premarital sex, and eating pork. And for a woman, you have to do all that and a lot more, and a lot more. You know what I
I don't
mean?
know. Yeah, and it also depends on where you were born. Because I think if you were born in Turkey, you might not become a Muslim, or you might give up being a Muslim as a female. Because it's just very hypocritical the way they approach women and men in Turkey,
Right.
and they put religion, on top of that criticism, which
Mm,
they shouldn't, because it made me have a prejudice for Islam.
right. And
But
that's a sad thing too, because in a lot of Muslim societies they make it so strict on people, or they're so hell bent on enforcing rigid social rules that it makes young people and other people, older people, everybody, some people not like it, and they say this is all BS. When I think Islam has a lot of good things within it, but if a lot of people stopped doing these rigid social rules and things like that, it would be a lot better for a lot of people, and a lot more people would embrace it sincerely. There's no compulsion in religion, right? There's no forcing anybody to do anything, right? The only actions that Allah accepts are sincere ones from the heart. He doesn't accept you forcing someone to pray, forcing someone to wear hijab, or anything like that. But I cannot stress enough. Also, the big privilege is also being an American and having this freedom to choose your religion, right? Because in a lot of other countries, that's impossible, right? You couldn't just say, I'm going to become a Christian in some other country, like Saudi Arabia or whatever. That's impossible, right? But because I'm American, that's another privilege. So the point of this mental exercise for me is just thinking about, you know, my sincerity and my belief, and also why privilege is important to acknowledge when you think about your life and you reflect on your life and you also analyze the world. Because imagine if you weren't born, who you were, where you were, when you were, what would your life be like? We're all somewhat influenced by our environment and our circumstances, you know? In an alternate universe, I'm a Turkish woman and she's a handsome black guy, and we're shooting this video from her perspective.
hey guys.
My name is Simon Hill. Thank you for watching.